Okay, everybody, welcome to another edition of the Breakdown. Today I'm going to give you part two of my Alabama versus Clemson preview analysis to let you know what I think about this matchup leading up to the game. Today I'm going to talk about Clemson's, traits, tendencies, things that I've noticed about them, about their team in general, that don't necessarily apply to any one game per se, but just things that you can notice from them if you watch them. And so I'm just gonna lay it all out. If it sounds a little jumbled, that's okay. That's the way it's intended to, because I just jotted down a lot of things and I put them in here. So I'm gonna look around and see what I got. But here we go. I'm gonna start out. I'm gonna talk about Kelly Bryant again. I know I talked about him in the last video, but just some few things to start. So he's thrown fewer passes than Deshaun Watson did last year. Fewer yards per attempt. He only has 13 touchdowns on this whole season. He has 6 interceptions. He is definitely a very talented runner. He can scoop. I mean, he reminds me, you know how they say Jalen Hurts looks like a natural runner? Kelly Bryant does as well, and he actually may be a little bit more agile, has a little bit more swiftness than Jalen Hurts. Like Jalen Hurts is a natural runner and can move downfield, runs a 4.4, but Kelly Bryant looks like a sleek, fast running guy. So he's very dangerous if he gets in the open field and able to run. Now, Kelly Bryant also, when he passes the ball, his favorite target is Hunter Renfrow, number 13. As many people call him the Bama killer and all that good stuff. Kelly Bryant really likes to look throwing the ball. If people think Jalen Hurts likes to throw to Calvin Ridley a lot, apply that to Kelly Bryant and Hunter Renfrow, because he will look for him, and they design a lot of short passes for Kelly Bryant to get him the ball. Now, moving on from Kelly Bryant, we'll talk about more about him as we go along. To notice, Clemson's special teams, specifically their kicking, has kind of been disastrous for them this year. And it started with their starting kicker getting hurt at the beginning of the season. The one who came in and took his place is Alex Spence, and he's been up and down. He'll make some, won't make them, and is just a shaky kicker. Also, on their kickoffs, they usually do not get into the end zone. That's what I've noticed on the kickoff so far. Maybe I'm wrong there, but someone can let me know. They don't get into the end zone on their kickoffs, so that can provide more opportunities for returns. And about Clemson's offense in general, they are a running team. They run focus. I'm pretty sure I can like speculate to say that Clemson has run the ball more than they have passed the ball this year, and they look to run more than anything. Whether that's design QB runs, whether they hand it off to one of their 3 or 4 different tailbacks, or basically, even if it's not a called run like on a stat sheet, those swing passes that are at the line of scrimmage or 1 yard or 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage, or those screen passes, those are basically runs. They're looking to get guys in space and to be able to run into the open field. So they are a very run-focused team. So actually, I said they rotate about 4 running backs, and they got number 27, who I can't remember. I think that may be Choice. That's his last name. Number 28 is Feaster. They got others I can't name right now. When I do my analysis, you'll see. I think number 23 somewhere in there. They got a bunch of guys. Yeah, but you'll know about them when I do my analysis. Man, where am I going next? As a matter of fact, just to like jump ahead to a specific game. In the Miami game, their first 4 touchdowns were all running plays, and they were all run in by 4 different people. I think Kelly Bryant and like 3 of the other running backs. That's just that you know. Also, about Clemson in general, their cornerbacks this year are Ryan Carter. He's number 31. He's a short guy. Yeah, it's about 5'9". He plays field corner. And I think, he's played field corner when number 2, which is, I think, Fields. That's his last name. The cornerback number 2 is Fields. When he's healthy, I think he plays field corner, and Ryan Carter plays slot. And the other guy, number 1 cornerback, the boundary corner, Mullen, he plays on the other side. They are a hard group to get a feel for, because a lot of teams, I didn't get to see a lot of people really just go after him down the field, but they got some rangy guys. Not necessarily the most impressive, but they do their job well enough. The cornerbacks do at least. The Clemson safeties, I've noticed, they tend to be out of position a bit. And those safeties, whether that's Van Smith, number 23, I actually noticed him being out of position quite a bit. You're going to see me talk about him in my analysis of the games. There were a few times, more than a few times, where I noticed he let guys get behind his zone coverage, or he followed too closely to the sideline and let guys cut back in. That's going to be something to look out for, especially if he gets matched up on Calvin Ridley. Also, the other safety, number 19, Muse, whenever he plays, I don't know if he's out, because I also noticed that number 12, Wallace, comes in a lot. They rotate a lot of guys back there in that backfield, but the safeties seem to not be the strength of this defense for Clemson. The cornerbacks are solid, though. And, of course, we got to talk about the defensive line. Usually have three guys on the three-point stance on the line and have one guy standing up. The one guy standing up is usually Austin Bryant, who's number 7, playing kind of like a jack linebacker role. But, of course, they got Christian Wilkins at left end. And, of course, he'll drop in and play defensive tackle. Christian Wilkins is the best guy in the defense, in my opinion. It's really, really good. Christian Wilkins, number 42. And you got number 90 in the middle. This Dexter Lawrence. He's a massive man, and he can really, really be disruptive and hold his blocks really well. And number 99, Clelin Ferrell, a long, rangy pass rusher who can try to get up the field, although they don't use him that way a lot. This defensive line in general, though, just talk about it. They're not like a speedy, quick twitch, pass rushing up the field type defensive line. Which one that sounds familiar because I talked about Alabama in those same terms this year. They're more of like very disruptive, use their power and control the line of scrimmage and not get moved type of defensive line. That's what they do. The crazy part is that they hold their ground really well, and they actually, in my opinion, they do it better than what Alabama's defensive line does. So you heard me say a lot of times this year, Alabama doesn't have those quick twitch pass rushers, kind of like Tim Williams guys like that, because they're not really, that's not their style. Clemson guys are the same way, but they seem to be a bit more disruptive. I don't know if that was necessarily because of the ACC's offensive lines or whatever it may be, but it's obvious that these guys are talented and that they can control the line of scrimmage and can dominate. They are very disruptive and they control the line of scrimmage, all of them. Ferrell, Lawrence, Wilkins. And Wilkins specifically, he's really good with his eyes and looking at the quarterback, jumping up to bat the ball. That's his skill. Now, with that said, one very important thing to remember is that their defensive line, as many games as I watched on them, they don't rotate a lot of guys. I see number 45 sometimes, and I see number 67 sometimes. Other than that, I see number 7, I see 42, I see 90, and I see 99. And that's important. That's important to remember because they don't have a lot of depth. I honestly, unless they've been hiding them this whole year and I just haven't watched the right games or something, I haven't seen them rotate a lot. These defensive linemen play pretty much the whole game, and maybe that's helped by the fact that they don't have to play a lot because they're forcing teams off the field quite a bit, and maybe they're well conditioned, but I don't see them rotate a lot. And so it would be interesting to see if they're on the field quite a bit. But yeah, they are very disruptive and they're all very good, and I won't take anything from them. They're a talented defensive line. One of the best we've seen all year. Some would arguably say the best defensive line. It depends on what you mean by best defensive line. I think the best pass rushing defensive line in general was Auburn's defensive line. Now, just in terms of controlling the line of scrimmage and being disruptive, that may be Clemson's defensive line. And I highlight a difference between the two on purpose. Maybe you don't, but I think it's a difference between those two. What do you guys think? Anyway, I'm moving on. Where am I going? Oh, Clemson has this very interesting thing they do with their offensive line. Very, very interesting thing here. So they rotate their offensive linemen all year. Like I've seen them have 2 different right tackles. Their left guard and their right guard, they rotate about 4 guys each. I think they maybe have rotated their center every once in a while. They never rotate the left tackle. I've never seen Mitch Hyatt come out of the game, number 75. I think you'll basically see him the whole game. But they rotate offensive linemen throughout the game. Number 73 and number 76 rotate at the right tackle spot. Um, Number 51 and 74 rotate at the right guard and left guard spot, as well as number 69 and 55. Like I said, those are the four guys: 69, 55, 51, and 74. They all rotate at the guards position between right guard and left guard. They really move. Um, so they do that to keep their offensive line fresh, but not only fresh, they do it to keep their offensive line experience. You know, the guy goes down, they got a guy who's come in and who's got some playing time. I think that's a very interesting idea, a very good scheme. I think that was really smart. I think you might see more teams adopting that. I think Alabama actually might want to start doing that. I would love to see Jedrick Wells get more reps throughout the season. So Clemson actually may be on the ball here, ahead of the game with that type of thing that they're doing there. So that's something to keep an eye out for. You'll see them switch. But in general, too, with Ray McLeod, he was number 34 last year. In the early part of this year, he switched to number 21. I think for like conflict for other numbers sake. So he can play on defense a little bit, actually, so that he won't be the same number as Kendall Joseph, their linebackers. And speaking of the linebackers, after I talk about Ray McLeod, I'll talk about the linebackers later. Ray McLeod, I'm all over the place. He actually may be a little bit loose with the ball. This year, I've seen him kind of fumble a punt a little bit, try to run with the ball, and just let it go. He's just been kind of loose with the ball. And even one of the commentators in the game said it. He lost one against Syracuse when they lost that game. He muffed the punt against Miami in the ACC championship game. He's just he hasn't quite been as safe with the ball as one would expect of is he a junior now? Sophomore, junior, one of those. So that's something to look out for. He may give a ball away. Now the linebackers, I mentioned them. The reason why I talked about everybody else in the defense. The cornerbacks are solid, and the defensive line is disruptive. But the linebackers, to me, they're actually not that impressive. The linebackers actually may be the weakness of their defense. Some of you Clemson fans who may possibly see this video, maybe you can let me know. You can leave some comments for everyone else. But I'm just not impressed with number 34, Kendall Joseph. The only one who I really like, seems like a good linebacker, is Trey Lamar, number 57. And actually, there's another one I like, but he kind of plays a weird position. I'll talk about him next. But Trey Lamar, number 57, he's a really good linebacker. Basically, he's a Mike linebacker. He comes up, plays to run well, and he kind of gets everybody on the same page. And when he's playing, their run defense is better. When he's not playing, they seem like they're out of position. They make more mistakes, seem a little bit more undisciplined. But Kendall Joseph, he bites on the play action quite a bit. He'll like come up and like pursue it, and then he'll try to retreat when he realizes that it's not a run. He kind of over pursues a little bit. He can get blocked. Kind of reminds me of like, you know, when you're a smaller linebacker and when the offensive lineman gets a hand on you, that's it. That kind of happens with him because he's so small. He's a little undersized. Clemson's linebackers are a bit undersized. Now, speaking of that, they have another linebacker, number 6, Dorian O'Daniel. He's a really good linebacker. He's actually so talented. He played running back in high school, ran a 4.4 40. He got bigger when he got to Clemson, and they switched him to linebacker. He's so athletic that he actually plays a hybrid position. It's nickelback / linebacker. He's number 6. Look out for him. You'll see him in the slot. When I saw him in the slot, I thought it was a mismatch because I was like, why would they let him cover guys? But they actually think he's talented enough to cover receivers or slot receivers and tight ends because of his unique skill set. And he can move pretty well. Interesting thing is, sometimes Alabama moves Calvin Ridley to the slot. So something to keep an eye on is Calvin Ridley is Alabama's number 3, one-on-one with Dorian O'Daniel, Clemson's number 6. A linebacker playing nickelback. That's an interesting matchup dynamic. Be on the lookout for that. So those are the linebackers. Like I said, I like Trey Lamar. Kendall Joseph's out of place. Dorian O'Daniel is kind of playing weird position. So the linebacker position is, like, to me, is kind of like in a little bit of like, it's like flex. You don't know what you kind of get, but we'll see. Where am I going to go next with this? This video is actually going to be longer than I thought it was, but hopefully not too long. Clemson, back on their offense now. They like to throw short. They throw a ton of short passes. I've said it a lot, and I'll keep saying it until you guys get it. They throw out routes, hitch routes, short stick routes, in routes, slant routes, swing routes, screen routes, screen passes, whatever you call it, they're all within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage usually. Very, very short passes. And they'll use about 9 different wide receivers. They rotate their guys in, but the usual culprits are, McLeod, Renfro, Deion Kane. Those are the big names you remember, but they bring in some of the younger guys, some of those freshmen and sophomores, and they'll bring them in as well. And with their passing offense, with their receivers, you've got Kelly Bryant throwing them the ball. One thing I noticed about him in particular, though, is that when the rush gets in his face, and specifically when it comes up the middle, his accuracy goes up and down. And I noticed that the overload blitzes, like when you kind of like let him know that you're coming and you overwhelm their offensive line, that gets in his head a little bit and he holds onto the ball. And like Jalen Hurts sometimes, actually, Clemson's the offensive coordinator, they actually call a lot of one read or run type plays. They're trying to take advantage of his skill set. So that's not necessarily a handicap, but it can be if the defense plays it well, like what teams do with Jalen. If you got one read and run, then if they stop the one read, then you run, they know it's coming, that could be trouble. But Kelly Bryant tends to, that's the type of thing. When the overload blitz gets in his head, he's usually going to run. And his accuracy goes up and down. And with that, the ball placement that he has goes up and down. And actually highlight that his ball placement could use some work. At times, he puts the ball in a pretty solid place. At other times, it's just off. It's just off. You throw the ball to the side or down in the ground. And I think part of that actually is because he's a bit of an arm thrower. He doesn't really step into his throw with his lower body. His leg comes up usually. Like you see his leg pop up. I think it's usually his right leg. It just kind of comes up when he throws the ball further downfield. That leg comes up. And I'm wondering if that because his arm is not as strong, or is that mainly because his mechanics, because he's throwing the ball with his arm. I want to say it's more so the fact that he's throwing with his arm and not necessarily that his arm isn't that strong, but who's to say? And we'll see that when I'm doing my analysis. I'll do the timestamp so you'll know exactly which plays I'm talking about, and you can actually see it. His leg will come up in the air like he's trying to get a little bit more mustard on the ball, like he's trying to put a little bit more strength on it. Overall, though, when Kelly Bryant goes deep, it's usually to Deion Kane on the go route, number 8. So that's something to look out for. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. No, but I will talk about some of just 2 more general things, maybe about offense. Oh, actually, a few more. When Hunter Renfro gets his little routes, they like throwing little out routes to Hunter Renfro from the slot. So he's in the slot, so they're going to throw out route and hitch route. So they're like, Hunter Renfro is going to be your safety blanket. He's going to be the guy that you throw the ball to when you got no one else to throw it to. He's safe for you. So they'll let Hunter Renfro run about 3-4 yards up the field, turn around. Let Hunter Renfro run an out route to the nearest sideline, or let Hunter Renfro run an in route. Whatever it may be, they're trying to get safe short throws to Hunter Renfro. And with that, the thing is, if you stop those short throws, and honestly, I'm not even say stop short throws. Clemson's offense stalls when you stop the run. They're such run heavy and run focused that once you make them decide to pass, either you can stop their short passes or you can't. So if you can put a little pressure on their short passing game while completely shutting down the run, their offense kind of stalls. I've noticed that from watching them over the season. That's kind of what happens. Now, about Clemson's running game. Like Auburn, their spread team, if you follow their lead blockers, you know where the run's going to go. You will see the run. Their guards and their tight ends usually pull together frequently. And actually, the tackles and the guards from the same side usually pull together frequently. There's been many times when I have charted their games where I've noticed the left tackle and the left guard will pull together to the right. Or I've noticed the right tackle and the right guard will pull together to the left. That's something that they do quite a bit and that they try to focus on. I think that's all that I'm going to say on them right now. Because everything else you'll see when I'm doing my analysis on the various games. So thanks for sticking with me. I'm glad I was able to keep this at about 20 minutes. This just gives you a general overview of what you can expect to see from this Clemson team when Alabama plays, so you won't be sidetracked. You'll know that they are running focused team. They throw a lot of short passes. The defensive line is very disruptive. The linebackers are a bit undersized, but can be productive. Sometimes not. Although I think that's the least impressive part of their defense, and their secondary is solid. Um, but yeah, that's it. I'll see you for the next video. A question for you guys at the end is, what part of Clemson's team do you like the most? What do you think? Who or what particular position group on that team do you think can actually give Alabama the most trouble, if any at all, and why? You can explain that in the comments. I'll try to respond to everybody. But looking forward to it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video.